Hi, welcome to the Guitar Stuff Studio. Right, if you keep up with all the guitar news here on YouTube, then you'll know that Dean Guitars recently won the right to a retrial in the Gibson trademark dispute. Now, long story short, Dean were making guitars that looked like Flying V's and Explorers and all the rest of it, and Gibson got upset and took Dean to court, and a judge told Dean not to make any more Flying V-shaped guitars, or Explorers, or anything else, or, you know, anything Gibson-y, because they infringed on Gibson's trademarks. Look, it's a whole rabbit hole, and there's been a ton of videos made on the YouTube explaining, what's going on in a lot of detail. KDH, friend of the channel, did a pretty informative one. I'll leave a link to Keelan's video in the description, so if you don't know the ins and outs already of the Dean versus Gibson lawsuit, he explains it better than I ever could. But this got me thinking about guitars. Nothing new there, I suppose. But, guitars and trademarks and shapes of guitars. And after thinking about it in my mind, I reckon I could single-handedly win this case for Dean. Not only do I have incredibly nerdy guitar knowledge up here in my mind, I have also read a lot of John Grisham books. He writes about law and lawyers and stuff. I mean, I read them before, the whole... Never mind. Anyway, I just thought I'd give my take on things, and that's what we're doing today. Before I get into it, make sure you like and subscribe. You can also support the channel by becoming a channel member now. It's, I don't know, a couple of dollars or something, and you get some perks and, some cool stuff. Anyway, e-beg over guitars, shapes, and copyright and stuff. Here we go. Now, one of my arguments would be that if you want to own a Gibson Flying V or a Gibson Explorer, you will buy a Gibson Flying V or a Gibson Explorer. You won't go and buy a Dean one or a Bernie one, or you'll buy, if you want a Gibson, you'll buy a Gibson. We're all guitar players here, right? We know the difference between a Gibson and a Dean guitar. I mean, the headstock for a start. Now, granted, the Gibson is a little bit more expensive than the Dean, but the Dean is not a Gibson. And before you start, I'm not slating Dean, and I'm not a Gibson fanboy. I mean, I do understand why people like Gibsons though, and Deans. But if you can't afford a Gibson Flying V, then, maybe the Dean is a cool alternative, or, maybe a guitar player you like plays a Dean model. I mean, as well, not everybody has Gibson money lying around. I mean, if I really wanted a Flying V-shaped guitar, and I couldn't afford a Gibson, then I'd buy a Dean guitar, or a Jackson. There's plenty of guitars I'd buy before I went and bought a cheap Chinese knockoff. I mean, good luck suing China Gibson. But there's always going to be copies, inspired buys, knockoffs. I mean, it's not like Dean are making guitars that are exactly like Gibsons, I mean, the headstock. The headstock is different on a Dean to a Gibson, very much so. I mean, Dean aren't doing the open book headstock and writing Gibson on it. I could understand Gibson being pissed if Dean were doing that, but they're not. People are not going to go and buy a Dean guitar by mistake. It's a conscious decision to go and buy that guitar. I mean, it's not like you're going to go and buy your Flying V or Explorer and then take it to band practice, and the bassist's going to go like, "Hey man, I like that Dean guitar you've got there," and you'd be like, "Oh man, I meant to buy a Gibson." This has never happened. Not once has this ever happened in history. And I mean, companies always say crap like this, don't they? Like, "Oh shucks, we just don't want our customers to be confused." A guitarist's all stupid now. I mean, does the guitar say Gibson anywhere on it? Anywhere? No, it says Dean. And the headstock looks like Satan designed it. Right, and if you're in a guitar shop and you go into the man that works in the guitar, or lady, equal rights here, you go into the guitar shop and you say, I'd like to buy a Gibson Explorer, and like, if they tried palming you off with a Dean, you'd be like, "Hey, what are you trying to pull here?" Look, the guitar has been around for, I don't know, 1,000 years or something. Rob Scallon did a really cool video, friend of the channel. He did a really cool video on this, link in the description. And let's be honest here. I mean, the guitar hasn't changed much from at all. You see guitar from 1,000 years ago and you go, oh, look, a really old guitar. Look, there's only so many shapes and forms that a guitar could come in. I mean, you need a body and a neck, and preferably, contentious here, preferably a headstock, but that's a whole nother video. There's only so many shapes that work, you know, as a guitar shape. You've got your single cut, your double cut, T-style, S-style, semi-hollows, acoustics, V-shapes, 335s, Explorer shape. That horrible Vox teardrop thing, God, that was ugly. And anything else, any other guitar shape, looks like garbage. Trash guitars for trash people that should never have been allowed. So we have to agree here, right? You cannot argue with this. There is a finite amount of guitar shapes that are okay. You know, that are socially acceptable. God, my tortoise is making so much noise this morning. So we have to agree here that there's a finite amount of guitar shapes that are okay, you know, to make guitars out of. And they are all kind of variations of each other. Now, headstocks. Headstocks are a completely different kettle of fishes. I mean, you can look at a silhouette of a headstock and straight away go, that's a Fender, or, ooh, that's a Kramer, or, ooh, that's a Jackson. Ooh, that's a Kiesel. The headstock's missing. So that's a whole other video, like I said. So I would argue that one of the defining characteristics of a guitar that makes it unique is the headstock. You'd be like, oh look, there's Jimi Hendrix, he's playing a Strat. I mean, upside down, but he's playing a Strat. Or, oh look, there's Hetfield with his ESP, or, you know, whatever he's downstroking on. You get the idea. And putting it bluntly, the headstock on a Dean guitar is hard to mix up with any other guitar. I mean, you need a special case and everything. This is ridiculous. Dean selling a V or an Explorer-shaped guitar will have had little to no effect whatsoever on the amount of guitars that Gibson have sold, and that's a fact. I mean, for a start, the headstocks on Deans don't fall off as soon as you look at them. I should have been a lawyer. So, there you have it, Your Honour. Guitarists are dumb, but we're not that dumb. We know headstocks, and we know that Dean should be able to make whatever the hell they want to and put that weird fishtail headstock thing on the end. The defence rests. You're welcome, Dean. Feel free to use this argument. I mean, just send me a guitar or something. I'm available if you need me. Anyway, exciting news. I'm going to be starting to do some gear reviews over the coming weeks. I'm still working on my format. I've got a few things to iron out because my gear reviews are going to be a little bit different, but informative. And don't worry, I'm going to stick, you know, the ingredients are going to be there. I'm going to bust out some sweet pentatonic licks. I mean, you can't have a guitar gear review without some sweet pentatonic licks. You've got to show them chops off. Anyway, make sure you like and subscribe. I do a live stream every Wednesday and every Saturday. They're fun. You can join in on everything. I'll give you a shout out if you say hi in the comments. I'll leave links to all my socials and everything else in the description. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Till next time. Peace out.